Welcome to the channel and enjoy my new story. The first snow of December blanketed the city as Eliza locked the door to her small flower shop. The warm glow of poinsettias in the window was a stark contrast to the chill in her heart. Her assistant Lily had just left with cheerful holiday wishes, but Eliza remained behind, rearranging displays and avoiding the silence of her empty apartment. Love felt like a distant dream, and loneliness seemed to follow her like a shadow. She sighed and grabbed her coat, ready to head home when the phone rang. "This is Amelia from the Grand Ballroom," a brisk voice announced. "We're organizing a charity New Year's ball, and your floral work came highly recommended. Would you be available to handle the event's decorations?" Eliza blinked in surprise. The Grand Ballroom was an elite venue, far beyond her usual modest commissions. She hesitated, unsure if she was ready for such a challenge. Amelia misread the pause. "I trust this won't be a problem. We can offer a generous budget." Eliza found her voice. "No problem at all. I'd be honored to help." The next morning, Eliza stood outside the opulent venue, her hands trembling slightly as she adjusted her scarf. The grand entrance of the Grand Ballroom loomed before her, its lights flickering softly behind the large glass doors. The snow outside had formed a blanket of white across the city, and the cold air brushed her face as she took a deep breath. Her nerves fluttered with every step she took toward the entrance. Inside, the warmth was immediate, and Eliza could already feel the magic of the place. She adjusted her coat and made her way to the front of the ballroom, where she was greeted by a tall, striking man who was waiting near the grand staircase. "I'm Nathan," he said, extending his hand with a confident yet approachable smile. His voice was deep and inviting. "I'm coordinating the event." Eliza hesitated for a moment before shaking his hand. "Eliza, the florist," she replied, trying to sound confident but a little nervous under his gaze. He gave her a quick once-over, his eyes gleaming with appreciation. "I've heard great things about your work. I'm excited to see your ideas for this event." His smile was warm and genuine, putting her at ease. He looked every bit the polished professional, tall, impeccably dressed in a dark coat with a sharp suit beneath. But there was an ease to him, an almost effortless charm. His presence was calm, and he had a way of making everything seem lighter, even as they walked through the expansive ballroom. "So this is where the magic happens," Eliza said, her eyes scanning the vast room. The high ceilings, glittering chandeliers, and marble floors felt so different from the cozy, intimate space of her flower shop. Nathan smiled, nodding. "It's a bit overwhelming, I'll admit, but it's all about creating the right atmosphere. You have a vision for the flowers?" Eliza's eyes lit up as she began to explain. "I'd like to bring in winter florals, icy whites, deep greens, soft blues, maybe a few touches of gold for warmth. I'm imagining something elegant but cozy. It has to feel like a winter wonderland." Nathan listened intently, his eyes focusing on her words, his expression thoughtful. "I love that idea," he said after a moment. "I can already see it, but what do you think about the centerpiece? Something more minimalist, less busy?" Eliza raised an eyebrow, a playful smile forming. "Minimalist? This is a New Year's ball, Nathan. I think we need something grand, a statement piece. More is more in this case." He chuckled, shaking his head. "I don't know. Less can be so much more. I think we should keep it refined, not overcrowd the space." Eliza crossed her arms, a challenge glinting in her eyes. "I'm sorry, but you're not getting away with something plain for this event. We need impact, drama." Nathan laughed, genuinely entertained. "Fair enough. We'll see, but you'll have to convince me." Their back and forth continued, lighthearted but filled with the spark of genuine chemistry. Eliza couldn't help but admire how Nathan handled himself. Despite his poised exterior, he was far from the cold, calculating businessman she'd imagined when she first heard he was in charge. His insights were sharp, but he had a surprising sense of humor that kept her on her toes. As the days passed, their interactions deepened. Nathan would pop by the flower shop to discuss details, his presence comfortable but no less electrifying. Sometimes they disagreed, and other times they simply exchanged knowing glances as they worked through the event planning. He admired her creativity, often asking for her input on decisions that went beyond her floral expertise. And Eliza? She found herself increasingly drawn to Nathan. He was nothing like the sharp, aloof type she'd expected him to be. He was grounded, easy to talk to, with a refreshing, down-to-earth energy that made her feel seen. She had always thought that someone in his position, with so much influence, would be distant, but Nathan had a way of connecting with people that felt completely real. But despite the growing warmth between them, there was always a subtle distance, a wall he kept firmly in place. She couldn't quite place it, but it made her curious and perhaps a little hesitant. Their playful disagreements turned into lingering glances. Each moment spent together only seemed to make their connection stronger, and yet Eliza couldn't shake the feeling that Nathan was hiding something. What was behind the charm? The effortless smiles. Nathan was unlike anyone Eliza had met. He was focused, organized, and impossibly calm under pressure. Yet there was a warmth to him, an unexpected humor that surfaced when they worked late into the evening. One evening, after a particularly long day of planning, Nathan offered to walk Eliza home. The snow crunched under their feet as they talked about their lives. "Why flowers?" he asked. "They bring people joy," Eliza said simply. "It's my way of making the world a little brighter." He nodded, a shadow passing over his face. "I envy that. Most of what I do feels transactional." Eliza was about to ask what he meant when he changed the subject. As the ball approached, Eliza noticed little inconsistencies in Nathan's story. He had an uncanny ability to command the room, even when speaking casually. He seemed to know far more about luxury brands and high society than any event coordinator should. Her assistant, Lily, picked up on it too. "Are you sure he's just the organizer?" she asked one morning. "Something doesn't add up." Eliza shrugged it off, but a small seed of doubt took root in her heart. The night of the ball was magical. The ballroom glowed with soft lights and frosted garlands. Guests in glittering attire mingled beneath the towering Christmas tree, its branches adorned with delicate ornaments. Nathan appeared at her side, dressed in a sharp black tuxedo. "It's perfect," he said, his voice low. "Because of you." Eliza's cheeks flushed, but before she could reply, the evening took an unexpected turn. During the toast, the benefactor stood to speak. "A special thank you to Nathan Carter, CEO of Carter Enterprises, for his generous contribution and impeccable planning." Eliza froze, the words echoing in her mind. "CEO?" She turned to Nathan, her eyes wide with disbelief. "I can explain," Nathan said, following her to a quiet corner of the room. "You lied to me," Eliza whispered. "Why?" "I didn't want you to see me as just another businessman," he said, his voice filled with urgency. "I wanted you to know me for who I am, not what I do." "You could have told me the truth," she said, hurt lacing her words. "Instead, you pretended to be someone else." "I was scared," Nathan admitted. "Scared that if you knew the truth, you'd see me the way everyone else does, as a cold, calculating CEO. But with you, I felt different, like I could be more." Eliza shook her head, tears stinging her eyes. "I don't know if I can trust you." The next day, Eliza tried to lose herself in her work, but her heart wasn't in it. She thought of Nathan's sincerity, the way he'd opened up to her. Was he truly the man she'd come to care for, or was it all a facade? Her answer came when Nathan walked into her shop. He was carrying a bouquet, not of roses or expensive orchids, but of simple winter blooms, tied together with twine. "I know I hurt you," he said, his voice steady but soft. "But I meant every word I said. You've shown me a world I'd forgotten existed, a world of warmth, beauty, and connection. I don't want to lose that. I don't want to lose you." Eliza stared at him, her heart torn. "How do I know this isn't just another performance?" "Because I'm here," Nathan said, stepping closer. "No suits, no ballrooms, just me. And I'm willing to spend every day proving to you that what I feel is real." In that moment, Eliza saw the truth in his eyes. Nathan had made mistakes, but his vulnerability was undeniable. "Okay," she said softly, a small smile breaking through her tears. "But no more secrets." "None," he promised. As the snow fell outside, they shared their first kiss, surrounded by the flowers that had brought them together. It wasn't the grand ball or the glittering lights that made the moment perfect. It was the promise of a new beginning. And so, with the start of a new year, they stepped into a love that was real, honest, and full of hope.